Good morning. I'm back in the kitchen this morning and I needed to make some room in the freezer, so I dug out the tomatoes that I had just been kind of gathering over the summer and didn't have a chance to turn into tomato sauce. So that's a nice little tip if you're growing a bunch of tomatoes or don't have time when it's really busy. Throw your tomatoes in a sack and throw them in the freezer, and then when things slow down, then you can turn them into tomato sauce. So that's what I'm going to do today. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Cece. My husband Kirk and I homestead in the big beautiful state of Montana. It is very bright out there right now. The sun is supposed to shine today. We probably have anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snow on the ground. Yesterday it blew a lot, and so we were very happy to see the blue sky and the sunshine and a break from the wind and just be a nice winter day. But sunshine on snow makes it very bright. Meanwhile, I got my big old pot here. I use this mostly for cheese, but the once a year that I make a bunch of tomato sauce, I dig it out. I have 4 sacks of tomatoes that I got out yesterday and from the freezer. I believe this one was from last summer already. I guess there's 5. So I'm gonna turn this into tomato sauce and see how far we get. If I look like I'm tired and I act like I'm tired, it's because I am. We came down with some kind of crud like a few days after Christmas, and just when we thought we were starting to get better and everybody recovering, another kid went down. So, but I need room in my freezer. I've been making like a lot of soups and then freezing extra, and I need the room in the freezer. So throw all the tomatoes in here and just start to let them cook. On top of that, this burner over here, which is the big front burner, has been giving us problems for probably the last year or so. It just doesn't want to stay regulated properly, and it finally gave out. So I'm going to try to use the back burner, but that's going to be difficult to control it. But you know what? It is what it is. Some of these tomatoes have quite a bit of juice at the bottom of them, and because I kind of want it thicker, I probably shouldn't dump it in. But I've also been told that is also where some of your nutrients from your tomatoes are. So this is a more liquidy type of sauce anyway, so I'll just cook it for a little while and try to get some of that water skimmed off the top. Okay, I'm just going to turn it on, watch it. Oh, found a stem. And just stir it every so often. Meanwhile, I will probably wash dishes on top of everything. Our dishwasher broke probably about a month ago. We have the part for it, but life got busy. Okay, I've been cooking this down for about 2 hours now. I got a whole bunch of those little green tomatoes. I think they're called tomalos. I don't really know if I'm even saying it anywhere right, but I've been noticing that those don't want, like when I take the wooden spoon and push them against the side, they do kind of pop open, but I have several of them still just kind of floating around in there. They're still a little bit on the hard side. So I'm gonna go ahead, just continue to let this cook probably for another half hour, 45 minutes. And then I'm gonna let it cool enough that I can put it through the food mill. But let me take a look. You can kind of see the green ones in there, just kind of wanting to float around. Everything else is pretty much got kind of mushy, which is exactly what I want. So I think they're close, but because of those, I'm gonna let them cook down just a little bit longer. The other thing that I've thought of, because I want 2 gallons of pulp to follow my recipe card, if I don't quite have enough for 2 gallons, or I'm a little over 2 gallons and want to bump it up to 3 gallons, I have a whole bunch of just plain tomato sauce cans that I had bought from Costco that I may go ahead dump into here and make the batch, extend the batch a little bit farther. I also have quite a bit of tomato paste, that if this does not cook down as much as I want, once I run it through the food mill, I may go ahead and add some cans of tomato paste as well. So it'll be kind of a combination between garden tomatoes and tomato sauce that I had bought, but I'm okay with that because it's extending what I've already have. Alrighty, I let it cook for probably another hour and then I turned it off and let it cool down just enough so that if it gets splashing, it's not like super hot. So just like I do with my applesauce, I take some of the cooked tomatoes, put it in the food mill, and then clean it out and put the peels and the seeds in here. And so this is a pretty good job for kiddos. Mine want to help, but they're fighting, so we shall see what happens. But let me show you, just do a real quick round so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, and then there we are left. I turn backwards sometimes just to keep the screen cleaner, and sometimes your stuff wants to get tucked up underneath this lip. And so I just kind of go backwards a little to clean it out. And go again. Okay, I got everything through the food mill. The kids helped. I forgot to put an apron on and my glasses are splattered and the whole 9 yards. The other nice thing about doing stuff like this in the wintertime, you get warm. It's nice. So I am at 6 quarts right here. My recipe calls for 2 gallons, 8 quarts. So I'm gonna take a few of these cans and go ahead and make this a full 2 gallons of pulp. And then I'm gonna start working through the recipe and putting in the spices and all of that. Okay, the next step is taking some of the ingredients and putting them in a bag. So we're talking like peppers, onions, some garlic, and some like mixed pickling spice. And then later on I'm supposed to put horseradish sauce in it, and I do not have horseradish sauce, but I have some sadly burnt, freezer burnt looking horseradish. So I'm just gonna try to take a chunk of this off and put it in the spice bag because I don't actually have horseradish sauce. That's the next step. I will put this recipe down below. This recipe is one that my mom made when I grew up. This is what I always thought was, you know, regular spaghetti sauce. And she used it from her mom. So where it comes from originally, I have no idea. Originally, it was supposed to be a barbecue sauce, but we've never like cooked it down so much that it ever got that thick. We just used it like a tomato sauce or a pasta sauce. So I love it for spaghetti and lasagna. Mine tends to have a little bit too much liquid in it to do it for like pizza because it just kind of wants to run. But we're looking at onion, garlic, mixed spice, peppers. Later on, I'll add brown sugar, salt, vinegar, dried mustard, black pepper, red pepper, horseradish, which I'll do now, and then 2 cups of regular sugar. So, and then I will just what I do call like a hot canning. This will cook, and then it'll be nice and hot, and I'll just pour it straight into the glass jars hot, and they'll just seal up. So I'm gonna put everything in this cloth bag that I need to and let it cook for 30 minutes. Add the rest of the ingredients, let it cook for another 30 minutes, and then can it up. So when we put stuff in this bag, it does not need to be finely chopped. You can just kind of cut it in half, chop it up or whatever. You don't need to make it really thin because it's gonna come back out again. Okay, I cut that horseradish and I'm like crying like it's onions. So just to give you an idea, it might be a little hard to see inside this bag, but this is what I mean by I just chopped things up. I mean, here's the peppers, here's my chunk of horseradish, even the onions, I just kind of threw in, you know, it's just chunked. And then I'm taking my pickling spice, tie it shut. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it right into the bag. You wouldn't need to, but I'm gonna tie it to the side just so I can fish it out a lot easier later. There we go. My mom uses kind of an older pillowcase. It will eventually stain. It will eventually stain it because it's tomato. But this was I think it was originally a burp cloth or something, but that's what I use. I stitched it together to make like a little sack out of it, and so that's what I use now. This is going to need to cook for a minimum of 30 minutes. I may let it do a little longer just because I had chunked the stuff so big that I kind of want to get all the flavor out of it. Although when I add the rest of the ingredients, this bag will still stay in. The bag will not come out until I'm ready to can it. So I'm gonna give it a good 30 minutes and then I'll come back and add the rest of the spices. I put in 3 sweet peppers instead of 2 because they needed to get used up. I was supposed to do 2 cloves of garlic, and I just was kind of to the end of my bulb. I didn't know how many was left. I just threw the rest of the bulb in there. Excuse me. And like I said, it called for horseradish sauce, and I just put the chunk of horseradish in instead. So there's definitely some wiggle room. But yeah, we'll come back and take a look at that in about a half hour. Okay, meanwhile, I've mixed up the rest of the ingredients. Lots of sugar, salt, vinegar, peppers, like black pepper and red pepper. And I didn't have any dry mustard, so I did regular mustard. It is not quite a half an hour, but I'm gonna go ahead and just dump this in and just let it finish kind of coming to a boil and cooking. I want to make sure that everything is really, really hot all the way through and through, so I can just like hot can it. It's smelling really good. Okay, this has been cooking away for the last hour plus a little bit. I have not all of my jars, some of them in the sink filled with hot water. I'm just gonna do kind of one at a time, take it slow. I just turned this off, but it is still very, very hot. So I'm gonna go ahead, I have a plate here that I'm going to put the jar on. As I fill it, I'm gonna use a glass measuring cup, which I also have full of hot water right now, just to prevent the glass from like breaking. And then I've got, oh, I need to get the flats. Actually put the flats in the rings. I have a paper towel to wipe everything off. Yeah, and I'm just gonna do a few at a time to make sure that the water in the jars stay hot until I get to them. All right, here we go. Okay, I have 6 done so far. That was everything that I have loaded with hot water. So I'm gonna take a break for a minute, reevaluate, because I only have 2 more jars up from the basement. May need to run down to the basement and grab another few more because yeah, it's still quite a bit in there. I still have this spice bag in here that I will probably try to figure out a way how to get it out and kind of wring it out a little. I don't know how much wringing out I can do because it is still very, very hot in there. But yeah, gonna take a break, fill some more jars, and then go again. Okay, now to deal with this. this one's not full, but I'm still gonna go ahead and put a lid on it, and I'll just stick it straight in the refrigerator. So let's take a peek over here at how many I got. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 quarts, which is pretty good. I think this next growing season, I'm gonna try to do even more tomatoes because we could easily go through 10 quarts of sauce. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to grow more tomatoes next year. Anyways, the benefit to doing canning in the winter is number one, a lot of times you have the time, and number two, you kind of welcome the warmth. I mean, I'm in a tank top and we've got like 8 inches of snow outside. So it's kind of nice because it heats up your kitchen and you don't mind being warm like you do, you know, late fall or, you know, in the summer. So I now have a big mess to clean up and supper to get ready. And it is evening, so my sick kiddos are starting to feel a little bit more run down and need mama. So thanks for tuning in, and until next week, have a great one.